Well, hola, boa noite. Carl Monson here on the Portugal show, and it's a great pleasure. I'll bring it to the screen now. Alyson Sheldrake's here, everybody. With what it says on the screen, the VIP live book launch. Ali, I've one word for you. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm really enjoying myself at the moment.
How does it feel to have a book out?
It's a really nice, exciting feeling second time around. The first book was April this year, and I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have a clue about publishing or particularly indie publishing. But I think second time around, I felt a little bit more confident. Hopefully I put a good book together, but really enjoyed myself putting it together. It's been great fun. And yesterday, launch day, was fab. It was really good fun. So I enjoyed that.
Fantastic. So tell us about the new book then. And obviously you need to tell us about the first one that came out in April too.
Well, yeah, I guess the backstory is that we actually moved out here to live almost 10 years ago permanently, but we bought a house about 5 years before that. So we had this horrible gap time of nearly 5 years where we were still working in the UK, desperately trying to make our way out here. And eventually Dave retired from the police. I gave up quite an important job in education, and we basically moved out here. And we started a blog. That was the first part of my writing. We started Algarve Blog almost straight away as a way of keeping in touch with friends. And that grew into this huge kind of award-winning blog, which frightened me. And we went from there. And I think writing the blog was great, but there were lots of other stories that were more personal or about our lives out here that didn't quite fit the blog. So I kind of shelved them all and kept them all on the computer. And then about last year thought, actually, I think this might work as a book. Let's have a go and see what happens. So that was really where the first book came from. I was bringing all of those stories together. And I actually, right at the end of the first book, one of the last things I wrote was that we just about sold our house where we were in Ferragudo, which was the story of the first book. And we'd bought a house out here in Algarve on the west coast. And I jokingly almost put at the end of the book, maybe I'll have to write a sequel called Living the Quieter Algarve Dream. And I had so many messages from people going, can't wait for the sequel. And I kind of thought, I worded that badly, didn't I? Because now I've got to write a sequel. So that's what I've been doing for most of this year on lockdown, which actually has been quite a bonus for me. So working at home and powering away writing the book. So that's where it came from, really, book two.
And the distinction then, what made you say that at the end of the book? And what's the distinction with the quieter Algarve dream? And for that matter, why the Algarve?
Well, we fell in love with the Algarve literally almost 20 years ago. Friends rented us a little cottage and we came out here initially just for a week's holiday. And our motto when we first travelled was always never go back to the same place twice. And we turned this corner, as you drive towards Ferragudo, there's this wonderful moment where you spin around the corner and the whole of the village is ahead of you. And literally the harbour with the boats and all the reflections of the houses into the water and the church right on the top. It's beautiful. And I remember us both going, wow. It really was this really inarticulate moment of us both gasping at the same time and going, wow. Totally fell in love with Ferragudo. From there, it was a pretty easy step to start thinking about maybe buying a house and moving out there. So yeah, we just fell in love with this little fishing village and we went from there. But it kind of, I think we'd had the house about 12, 13 years in total. And it just felt a good time to move to somewhere a little bit quieter and just take a different sort of pace of life. And Dave is a photographer. He adores the West Coast and the beaches. And one of my kind of things I'd always wanted to do was be an artist. So we moved out here initially and started those businesses. And the West Coast just seemed to call us. We were really lucky. We found this really lovely house out here. So that's where we moved to. So I guess that's where the quieter bit came in. Yeah. If you read the book, you'll find out life didn't quite fit in with the plan of quieter, but never mind.
Yes, that's how it goes sometimes. And that's perhaps something people should know about, isn't it? Is that, you have your sort of romantic and idyllic notion of how it's going to be. And hence you need a sequel to prepare yourself to get to that point of actually truly enjoying the quieter life after taking everything else in your stride up to that point.
Yeah, definitely. So it was, but we've moved to a fabulous, it's quite rural, it's a little market town, it's not as touristy. surrounded by Portuguese crazy locals, lots of chickens, lots of rabbits. It's a very different lifestyle. I love it.
We've got some of the characters from your book here with us tonight, which is great.
Yeah.
And you're going to treat us to some readings as well.
Yes.
All right.
So,
shall we welcome our first guests onto the screen to join us?
Yeah, please do. They're my friends, Gary and Kyle. And
yeah, Gary and Kyle, good evening to you. How are you this evening?
Hi, we're good. Good evening.
And you're in the Algarve, of course.
Yes, we are.
Yes. Quieter life or not?
That depends on the loudness of our daughter, but usually it's pretty quiet when she's asleep, yeah.
Yes, which she appears to be right now. So you mentioned your daughter there, fantastic. And I believe you have a rescue dog, like many people do here in Portugal. How is your life balanced with all that in mind?
Well, we've actually divided our days into two. It may sound a bit strange, but one of us has time to work in the morning. Like we both work from home, so that works out quite well. And the other one takes care of the rescue dog. He's fun usually, and our daughter who needs some looking after. And then when she sleeps, we kind of switch over, and the other one does the afternoon shift.
Brilliant. That sounds like it works really well.
It does actually. You have 7 days a week of work and. Well, but it's nice.
Yeah, fantastic. So where were you before? Where are you guys from?
We are from Holland, and I'm from Germany, and we used to live there and in England as well. And
okay.
and 5.5 years ago, we decided to come down to the south of Portugal. We really enjoy it here. And
it's lovely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And would you recommend it for family life? As people with a young family?
For family life, definitely. As the Portuguese are crazy about kids, and here it's just amazing to go to the supermarket with your daughter. Everyone helps you. You get priority at the cash out. And when I think back on how it is in Germany, there you have to say sorry when you take your kid to the supermarket, and everyone looks angry at you. And here you're invited to everything, and so it definitely is a very, very good place to raise a child.
Yeah, I'm saying it. I don't have experience of Germany, but it's a lot like that in the UK, where I think people usher you to the front of the queue only to get rid of you. But here in Portugal, it's so welcoming and wonderful for families, isn't it?
It's lovely.
Indeed.
Yeah, it really is. It's also so nice because life kind of takes place more outdoors. Like in Holland, it rains a lot this time, just like the UK. And in Portugal, it doesn't really. So like this afternoon, I was walking on the beach with the dog and our daughter. And then afterwards, we went into the Salinas, and there was a goat herder with all his goats. And the kid, of course, was like, goats. And it's nice. Something like that would not happen in Holland, I think.
Oh, it sounds beautiful. Sorry, you went into where? The Salinas?
The Salinas. It's like the salt pans in certain areas of the Ria Formosa. They still harvest natural sea salt by hand, and then in certain parts of it, you can walk your dog.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. I mean, yeah, and to experience all of that, like the salt. What are they called? Salt fields or salt areas or salt pans? Yeah. Oh, it's okay. And then you see a goat herder, and you got your child there. And I was going to ask you what your favorite day out in the Algarve might be like, but it sounds like every day, really.
That is a pretty difficult question, as there are so many different days you can have here. As we live in the eastern part of the Algarve, and we have amazing islands here that you can take your canoe or your stand-up paddleboard to go there. But in the western Algarve, you have the west coast, and you can go for a surf, and so it's completely different, and you can't do all of that in one day. But we really enjoy both of it. But
I'd say we could if we drove from one side when the daughter is napping. So I'd say start off at Bordeira Beach. It's a beach in the western Algarve. Start today with a galau, of course, and some pastel tunata. Then paddle in the lagoon. They have a really nice shallow lagoon, so the dog can play around. Dogs are kind of allowed there, and the kid can play around. Then when she sleeps, we drive over to here. We live quite close to the Ria Formosa, and then get a canoe, paddle over to Armona Island, have lots of Vinho Verde paddle back.
Yeah, and
that sounds like a pretty cool day out.
Some roasted wild boar in the evening, but only for me. She's a vegetarian. Yeah.
I saw the look on your face there, Yeri. That's not for you, is it, the Javali?
No.
Javali. Okay. And you started the day with a galao. You might need to explain that to some people who are tuned in.
It's like a milky coffee. It's like, I feel like a cappuccino or a latte. I think it would be like a latte.
Yeah, Portugal's closest to a latte.
All the other coffees you drink in the cup, but this one in the glass.
And that's with the pastel de nata. I think you said some pastel de natas or some pastéis de nata.
Yes, that's right. They're tiny. You need at least 3, definitely. Alyson, isn't that?
3 each was that? Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Come on.
Sorry, Alyson. I'm hogging these.
You were asking for the perfect day, so
yes, not every day, of course.
And you mentioned there, I think, Yeri, you might be vegetarian, so the wild boar's not for you.
Oh no, the fish though. I'm like a flexi, like a hypocrite vegetarian.
A cod botherer, as we sometimes. Okay. Okay, all right. Can you say a little bit more so that you know, perfect fish dish for you in Portugal and in the Algarve?
Grilled dorado or grilled robalo. It's like sea bass or sea bream, I think. I don't know which one is which. And they grill it here. They have in Tizet, close to where we live. They have wonderful restaurants, and they're not like aesthetically appealing. It's just you sit on plastic chairs in a what's basically a parking place, but you see them grill the fish, and it's lots of garlic and grill. It's great.
Yeah, I got to say I do like the lack of pretension here in Portugal. It's about the food, isn't it? It's about the flavour and not all the peripheral stuff. Fantastic. So it would appear you're quite happy with your choice. What would you say? Very little doubt about that. What would you say to other people? I mean, these people are reading Ali's book, aren't they? They're thinking of coming to live in the Algarve. You've done that. What would you say to other people considering that move, wherever they might be in the world right now?
Well, yeah, definitely have a look first if this is the right place for you. I mean, you can read a lot, but if you come here and visit this place maybe off season to see what it's looked like when all the tourists are gone, it's definitely a tip we would have. And also, it depends a little bit on the hobbies someone has. You can find out that hobbies might be difficult down here that you have at home. It might be that you won't be completely happy when you spend all your time here. So that's something you definitely should find out before. But apart from that, it's not that difficult here.
No, well, I'd say, I don't know, you need to kind of work on your patience because bureaucratic things can take quite a long. I don't know if that's, I think it's in Portugal, depending on where you come from originally. And definitely make sure you have some kind of an income, because we both work online for companies that are from abroad, so like from Holland and from UK, because the minimum wage in Portugal is not that high compared to a lot of other countries.
Okay, fantastic advice. So what I'm hearing. Sorry, go on. Sorry to interrupt you. Carry on.
If you're from Holland, which is a country where you take every opportunity, like when the sun shines, you're like, okay, brilliant, let's go and drink wine because the sun is shining. Don't continue that lifestyle. Seriously, the weather's too good to do that. You'd just be spending all your days drinking.
Drunk all the time, yes. Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, the same advice applies to Brits. Well, that's fantastic. What I'm hearing you say is basically have a holiday here. That's not something. Do your research. Take a chill pill as far as the admin goes. Just take it nice and easy. Don't expect things to be in a rush. Yeah, and working online from home, I think people are getting used to that, and a lot of people would actually prefer that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, nowadays you kind of have to with the whole Corona thing, and it's nice because I don't know, when we go back to Holland or to Germany, which we did before, then you obviously you're going to end up in traffic jam, and you think, okay, this is fine because we're over here for like a month, but then you think, whoa, there are people doing this, like commuting from home to work for 1.5 hours every day, which is not very fun.
No, indeed.
I was used to do that, but since that changed here, you think back, why have I done that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So many years of my life, yeah.
So fair to say then, living the quieter Algarve dream is for you, and you've pretty much done that, I think, by the sound of it.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, you miss the hustle and bustle of like living in a city, maybe. I don't know. I don't. Some cities are lovely in the rain. Like we live close to Cambridge in the UK, and that's nice in the rain. I think it's lovely in sun as well. But in the Algarve, it gets a little bit depressing when it rains. Then again, it only happens just like a couple of times a year.
Right. Yeah, those 2 days. Those 2 days are really hard going, aren't they?
Definitely for us.
No,
it's great. It's definitely it's a living a dream.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Thank you very much. All right, brilliant. Thanks for being here tonight. I don't know if Ali has any more questions for you. I've hogged them tonight. Sorry, Ali.
I just wanted to thank them because part of what I wanted with my book was to actually invite other people in to tell their story as well, because obviously it's always interesting to find out how other people, and particularly of different age groups, find the Algarve as well. Because I think people often think the Algarve's just for people that have retired or play golf or second holiday home here. Whereas, you know, I've met loads like, you know, Erin Kyle that are younger, that are bringing up their family here and are finding the Algarve a great place for young people to be. So it was one of the real reasons I wanted them to be in the book, really, is to kind of give that balance with a different lifestyle. So it was, so thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much
for having us, both in the show and of course in the book.
Yeah.
Lovely to meet you both. And loves your daughter and your rescue dog. What's your rescue dog's name?
Gustav.
Gustav. That's a very
like the king of Sweden.
Yes, of course. And it sounds like he should be a schnauzer or some sort of a breed like that.
He looks a little bit like that.
A distinguished fellow. Is he there? Because we will have several pets tonight. I think Ali's cat dog will be here in a little while as well.
Yeah. Oh, wait. He's going to be on the screen.
Come here.
Oh, hold on. Thanks for your comment, Gabby. Gabby's thanking you there. Here comes Gustav, everybody. Do we need to stand for King Gustav?
Oh, no.
Look at Gustav. Hey, Gustav, lovely boy. Fantastic. All right, star of the show so far. Gustav there. Yeri and Kyle, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care. Bless them out. Have a lovely time there in the Algarve with all that sun and those 2 days of rain. It's a tough job, but someone's got to do it.
Mate, I tell you.
Right, Ali, I think we do have questions, and we'll come to those in a little while, such as, would love to know more of the Algarve, not the touristy one, because that's a preconception people have, as well as the golf and the retirement. People imagine it, I think, to be a very sort of touristy place. Not the case, necessarily. We'll get back to you on that, Mag, and all these lovely other greetings we'll cover as well. People wanting to send you cakes, people from Denmark, all over the world celebrating with you tonight with the launch of your second book, which I think we're going to hear a reading from the book now. Yeah, and then we'll talk to Dave Darling in a little while, another person with a story to tell about living in the Algarve, if we've got a decent line with Dave. So over to you, Ali, for a bit of a reading, yeah?
Thank you. Yes, great. Thank you very much. I've tried to pick an excerpt from one of my favourite chapters in the book. And it's interesting, Yeri and Carl talked about food and their favourite food, and this chapter is very much about eating Sheldrake style, so bear with me.
Okay.
In one of the earlier chapters, just to give you a kind of heads up, I describe how I had quite a life-altering diagnosis. I won't give you all the details here, but this chapter kind of leads on to explain how life has changed for me since that moment. So there's your kind of background for the chapter. So,
sure.
Shopping for food has become slightly more of a challenge since my health change. I have a list of staples I rely on each week that make up the bulk of our meal planning. Any new items require me to scrabble around for a pair of glasses so I can read the inordinately small print on the back of the packet. Usually, there's an ingredient in there somewhere that I cannot eat, and I return the item to the shelf. It can be frustrating. Gluten-free is a given, and the bio and organic ranges, which are of course more expensive, have become commonplace in our shopping trolley. One thing that I still miss, as I have such a sweet tooth, is anything you would remotely classify as a cake or a biscuit. I've got used to having a green tea or a herbal concoction instead of my favoured British cup of tea. However, the ubiquitous biscuit to accompany this has been sadly missing. I have a dear friend in the UK who is an absolute whiz with recipes and cooking, and she offered to help me in my quest. I sent Tiffany my admittedly rather short list of things I can eat. It was much easier than trying to explain all the foods I have to avoid. She set to work and soon replied with a couple of easy recipes for me to experiment with. Now, it should be noted at this point that anyone that knows me will know that the words Alyson, kitchen, and recipe have probably never been uttered together in the same sentence before. It is, I'm fair to say, an absolute disaster when it comes to culinary matters. I can just about operate a kettle and a toaster, and anything else, very hit and miss. Luckily for me, Dave loves cooking. It's a good job, really. If it was down to my ability to create anything even remotely edible in the kitchen, I doubt he would have married me. On one of our early dates, you know, the ones where you're still trying to vaguely impress the other person, I attempted to roast a chicken in the oven. I'm not sure the oven had actually seen much action before this moment, in my newly single, living in a rented flat, still young and haven't got a clue what to do stage of existence. I happily invited Dave round to dinner and fiendishly chopped vegetables and peeled potatoes while this chicken was, I hoped, merrily roasting away. The table, of course, looked lovely. I'm happy making everything look nice when it comes to decoration. It's the artist in me. When I was born, the scientific part of my brain was deleted in favour of all things right brain and creative. Time for the big reveal, and out came the chicken. Off came the tinfoil, all looked well, slightly brown on top with a crispy skin. There's nothing to this cooking lark, I thought to myself. That is until I came to carve. The bird was still frozen in the middle, Arctic solid, frozen. We ate out that night, and Dave took over the cooking soon afterwards. Almost 25 years later, he is still the one wearing the apron and brandishing the oven gloves. Naturally, I enlisted his help in creating the delicious sounding recipe ideas from Tiffany. After the first batch of goodies were created, I was allowed to be left unsupervised in the kitchen, as there was no actual cooking involved. I just had to use the whizzy, blendy, sharp-bladed mix-it-all-up machine, and I can now create a flapjack-like cake that tastes amazing and some power balls that are divine. My sweet tooth is finally satisfied. The cake consists of gluten-free oats, which I can eat. Then my go-to breakfast every morning, porridge with bananas, blueberries, and red fruits liberally scattered on top. So you add some blanched almonds to the oats, coconut flakes, coconut oil, chopped fresh dates from the market, and a generous scoop of organic carob powder, and you're away. I found that although I cannot eat chocolate, raw carob powder is fine and tastes sweet and earthy. The power balls are even more fun to make and very easy. They must be, even I can make them. 20 chopped dates, a cup of almonds, carob powder and coconut oil. Add a dash of hot water, my secret ingredient, whisk them up, roll the sticky mixture into balls and skid them around a bowl scattered with desiccated coconut. Ta-da, you have chocolate balls with coconut flakes stuck to them. Delicious. They're about 3 centimetres in diameter, so the perfect size for a small treat. They might keep for up to a week in the fridge. I wouldn't know. I make about 28 at a time, and they generally last for 3 or 4 days, possibly that long. Although in fairness, Dave and I don't eat all of them. I have discovered that several friends and neighbours enjoy nibbling on my chocolate balls, especially my friend Petra from the market. She inquired one day what I was making with all the fresh dates I was buying, and why I was religiously counting them individually as I put them into a paper bag. I explained my new recipes, and the next time I went to the market, I took her a couple of chocolate balls to try, all nicely wrapped up in a cellophane bag with a homemade with love sticker on the front. She chortled when she saw them and was delighted. She was also rather rude about them. Most of our friends have a naughty sense of humour. Petra is Dutch and speaks perfect English and fluent Portuguese. We tend to stick to English when we see each other. The next time we needed food from the market, Dave went and I handed him another packet, all neatly wrapped up with 2 more balls inside for Petra. As soon as she saw them and in a loud voice, she exclaimed, "Oh, Dave, I do love your balls." It became a standing joke. Last week as I left the market, I gave her the now famous culinary treat and gleefully and loudly said to her, "Have fun licking my balls." Several people turned round in amazement. I forget sometimes, most Portuguese people speak at least a smattering of English. Another recipe that became a success until I sadly realised that chickpeas were causing me problems was a homemade hummus dip I perfected. I was gutted when I discovered it was creating more inflammation as it was so tasty. The secret was a spoonful of honey I added to the mixture. It was a lovely lunchtime treat, especially once I discovered you can make a type of toast by thinly slicing a sweet potato and placing it in the toaster to grill. Hummus on top of sweet potato toast, delicious. Hey, I can actually make food we can eat, I thought to myself, without needing to know the phone number of the accident and emergency department or the fire brigade. My culinary prowess reached its dizziest heights yet last month. There's a new foodie magazine that has been launched here in Portugal called Relish Portugal. It's a sumptuous affair full of gastronomic delights, recipes from Michelin-starred chefs, reviews of top eateries, and features on local delicacies. You get the idea. They also feature an artist in each edition, and the lovely editor contacted me and asked if she could showcase my artwork. I was, of course, delighted to accept. Then she said to me, and I've just seen her pop up on the screen, we'd like to include a recipe from each of our featured contributors. Can you send me over your favourite recipe? Well, once I'd finished laughing, I emailed her my hummus and sweet potato extravaganza. I wrote it with my usual panache, and it would be fair to say, slightly tongue-in-cheek. The recipe included the instructions. Toast the sweet potato slices in the toaster on full heat setting, at least twice until they're cooked. Plonk the hummus on the toast and scoff. At this point, the editor kindly added the following translation. Put a spoonful of hummus atop the toasted sweet potatoes and enjoy. I literally cried with laughter when I saw they'd printed this verbatim in the magazine. Of course, I now swagger around the kitchen reminding Dave that I'm now a recognised gourmet chef, and I've had one of my recipes included in a top magazine. Oh, the irony. I wonder if they'd like my recipe for char-grilled frozen chicken for the next edition. There you go.
Sorry, I just unmuted my mic there because I was laughing out loud and shrieking on my own here. I would have ruined your reading there with my laughing here. I'm sure my wife is going to come in any minute. Just thinking about well, first of all, the frozen chicken, and then of course the banter about the power balls, which that sounds very fitting for our expat man cave. Maybe come and give us another reading in there sometime, Ali. Amazing. Now, hopefully, we have with us tonight, and I tried to share some stills of the book covers. But if people want to buy the book, they should go to AlysonSheldrake.com/living the quieter dream. But if you just go to AlysonSheldrake.com, I'm sure it'll be pretty self-explanatory how to find the books from there. Let's see if we can get another character featured in your book on screen with us now. Dave, darling, are you there? Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Boom. How good is that? Good evening to you, Dave. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. Yeah, you guys?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, were you laughing along there at the frozen chicken and the power balls?
Well, I read the book. You sent me an advance copy, so I'd already had a chuckle anyway. So.
Good. Okay. No, of course, you're in the Algarve. Which bit and why?
Well, I'm in that famous little village called Farraguda, which is where I met Alyson about 3.5 years ago, walking our respective dogs. So, Farraguda.
Okay, fantastic. Well, what is it I mean, Ali was saying what a beautiful place it is. Anything else you can add to that she didn't comment upon?
Well, we looked at about 43 houses in 1 week when we first came over, and we had this fantastic dream of buying a place up in the mountains. And after about 4 days, we were completely confused. And we met a very good estate agent, and she sort of took us round, and we just kind of fell in love with Farraguda. And I think it was quite clever. She suggested we went down a certain route, which happened to coincide with us seeing the fishermen mending their nets. So that was kind of I'm sure she paid the money to do that, but that just kind of gave that little ring of authenticity. So it's just a real village, really. I mean, in the summer, it does tend to trade on its authenticity, and it gets a bit popular because it comes see an authentic village. But the great thing about it is it's a live town all the year round. There's just less people there this time of the year,
Fantastic. And I understand Ali gives you a bit of a stick about your golf swing. How is that at the moment?
Yeah, well, it's It gets worse and worse, really. What makes it really worse is my wife's just taken it up about a year ago, and she's getting better than I am. So that really rubs salt in the wound. But I mean, it's a great place to play golf. There's something like 40 golf courses here, or there will be next year. I think there's about 38 at the moment. And I mean, we were out today practicing, and well, my wife was practicing, and I was kind of watching, But we're there in t-shirts and shorts, and it's the end of November. So
not bad, huh?
From that point of view, that's pretty nice.
Fantastic. And what else do you do? May I ask, in terms of a social life there?
Well, I mean, I do a little bit of charity work, which is something I always wanted to get into. I retired 4 years ago, and I kind of had a little bit of a hiatus where you wonder what the hell you're going to do. And so I got involved with a charity. I go to the gym, not as often as my wife, but I go to the gym and I swim and I do bits. I don't subscribe to all the lessons that she does because I tried it once and I limped for about a month. We go out for dinner with friends, but when you live over here, you don't go out for dinner every night. I mean, you have dinner, once or twice a week max, and the rest of the time you eat in. So charity work, dog walks, like Alyson, we've got a rescue dog as well. I mean, the only time I go on the beach is this time of the year. I never go on the beach in the summer because it's full of tourists, but this time of the year it's fantastic. And we're blessed with some fantastic beaches and fantastic walks around here. Yeah,
amazing. Can you tell us a bit more about the particular charity you support?
Yeah, well, it's a thing called Algarve Family in Need, which is set up by an ex-social worker from the UK about 2 or 3 years ago, I think. And it's really come to prominence. I was trying to set up something else at the start of this year, but it was knocked on the head by COVID. And I got involved in this. I'd worked in the soup kitchens in Portugal previously, which is another great charity. And I got involved in this. And basically, we look after, at the moment, I run Portimao, the charity in Portimao, not the whole of Portimao. And we basically go out a couple of days a week. We collect food. The golf clubs have been fantastic in providing food and groceries and bits and bobs. We collect from local shops. We collect from local people who, thankfully, know I'm at a certain place at a certain time. And then we pack it all up. We have a bit of a messy garage, but a reasonable size, which is full of, at this precise moment, about 18 people's food for next week. And we load it up and we go and buy some fresh food and we deliver it. So it was kind of brought home to me because I know a number of the people that we deliver to. The one thing about the Portuguese is they're very proud. And a number of the people have said, well, I think I'm okay because I'm getting charity from somebody else next week. And what they tend to get from some of the registered charities is, unfortunately, not particularly substantial and not particularly good quality. So they tend to come back to us. We're lucky we have a lot of the people who provide good food. We've raised over 3,000 euros from Sierra de Monchi Golf Club, for example, and lots of food and toilet rolls and cuddly toys and everything. And so we go out and deliver that. And, we're able to provide probably enough food to keep them going for 3 or 4 days, once a week. So, and it's targeted people who've been affected particularly by COVID. So, we can't become the health service or the social services for the Portuguese social services system. What we do is we provide a blanket for the people who lost their jobs due to COVID. That's what we're trying to do.
Sounds perfect. Sounds right at the moment as well, doesn't it? I mean, so many of us who come over as expats are a bit better off, and it seems only right to get your hand in your pocket and do your bit to help people, especially with what's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
Amazing. Great work. Thank you. And your Portuguese, how's that?
Fantastic. I'm down to 20. It's about as good as my Finnish. My wife's Finnish, actually, and I think my Finnish is slightly better, but that took 20 years. I can count to 20. I can order 20 red wines, 20 beers, 20 white wines.
Obviously useful stuff.
And my wife says I'm getting better from the corner. I mean, part of the work of the charity is that I'm dealing purely with Portuguese people. So, and a few of them have commented recently that I am at least starting to have baby conversations, which is nice.
Great, excellent.
But no, I mean, an Irish friend I've actually done 2 full Portuguese courses. to reach this level of being able to count to 20 and order red wine and stuff. And I mean, I'm a typical Brit in that sense. And on the last course, an Irish mate of mine and I went over to Lule once a week to get the to do this thing. And at the end of it, his wife is Portuguese, and she wrote a note. There was 2 other people on the course, both of whom were space cadets compared to us two. One was a language teacher from France, Spanish. So I mean, she kind of was aware of it. And at the end of it, my friend's wife, Portuguese wife, wrote a note to the teacher saying, "When's the course restarting?" And she said, "Well, I'll let you know as soon as I reach people of the same level as Peter and Dave." And that was a year and a half ago, and we're still waiting for the call. So yeah, it's that.
You kind of let down softly.
Yeah, no, she could have written it in the background, but not in a nice way. So
yes.
I think we were her nightmares. So yeah.
Wow.
So I hope that answered the question. Not great.
But you've clearly got your survival Portuguese sorted out. 20 beers.
Yeah, I can carry 20 in and order red wine. I mean, what else do you need? So.
Yes, absolutely. So talking of red wine, do you have a favourite eatery or secret or anything like that you would be prepared to share with us tonight?
Yeah, I mean, there are two restaurants, I think, locally. One in Portugal called San Letti, which is a magnificent family tapas or a restaurant that we go to on a regular basis. And there's another one, which is a personal favourite of mine, called Aria, which does the best cataplana in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Well, certainly Ferraguda, which is my world, if you like.
Yeah.
But there's also a great. So I mean, I'd recommend anybody comes to Ferraguda, seek out San Letti, and also seek out Aria. But also there's a lovely little bar on. I don't know what Alyson thinks, but there's a lovely little bar on Praia Grande called Sconadinho. It also goes by 3 or 4 different names because he kept getting free signs and he put them up. I think the beach, the Sunset Bar is one, the Hideaway Bar, and the main one says the Yacht Club, and it's run by a lovely guy called Rui, who's lived I think in the UK for 15 or 20 years. But it's just a magnificent place to have a beer and just watch, and the views are to die for, and it's not pretentious. It serves pies, it serves sandwiches, it serves beer, it serves that dreadful stuff called Madronia. And people just sit there and watch, hear the waves and just watch things go by. And it's how a beach comes. But there's a lot of places that claim to be beach bars. And to me, Sconadinho, Rui's Bar, whatever you want to call it, is actually what a beach bar is all about. So.
I've got to find out. I mean, people will. You've whet my appetite there. I'm not sure about the Madronia Aguardente firewater thing, but it often follows on, doesn't it? One thing leads to another, and you find yourself drinking a bit of the Aguardente at the end of the evening. It does.
So I mean, we had another Irish friend and I did the Camino walk from Porto to Santiago de Compostela a few years ago.
Wow.
And we had a memorable stop with a lady. When she discovered my friend could sing, because he's Irish and I can't, but I can mime. She fed us 50% Aquadenti, then 80% Aquadenti, then 100% Aquadenti. By which point we'd lost the ability to stand up or sing. Yeah. So
and the thing he meant as well,
okay, Madronia's not my cup of tea.
I need to take you back as well, because people will be going to these places you mentioned, and they'll be asking for Dave 20 red wines, darling, in there. But it's the cataplana I want to know more about. What is that?
It's fish. Basically, it's fish stew. I mean, it's whatever fish I think they have at the day put into a kind of a pressure cooker. Yeah. We actually went to a French friend of ours, a neighbour of ours, who made a fantastic one. And you basically stuff this stuff into either a brass or a stainless steel pressure cooker. You put the lid on, you fasten it down, and 40 minutes later you come back and there's this beautifully tender fish in a lovely tomato-rich sauce. They do meat cataplanas. I haven't tried that one, but the fish cataplana, and it's fantastic. It really is. And you got to get remember to get the bread at the end and dunk that in, because
stop it!
It's not right.
Stop it, Dave. Oh, that sounds so good, doesn't it, Ali?
Yeah, we're making you hungry. Yeah, excellent.
You are. My stomach is rumbling. I'm even thinking, because I got to, I went to get a bottle of fizz to celebrate with you tonight, and fell foul of the 8 o'clock threshold. So I ended up with Algarve orange juice by way of some sort of celebration with you. I trust people are raising a glass to you and your success with your second book here tonight, and we'll talk to a few of them. But Dave, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Alan.
Is that firewater? A big jug of
No,
firewater?
that's water.
Likely story. All right, Dave. Thank you. Thank you
very much. Cheers.
Cheers,
Cheers.
Dave.
Bye for now. Bye for now. Oh, sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Where you all are down there.
Well, Rui's Bar was the first place we went to on our first holiday. That was the first beach and the first bar we went to. So we've got fond memories of almost 20 years ago of Rui. He doesn't like cooking sardines, though. If anybody that came in and ordered sardines, he'd go, I hate sardines, and then go around the back and slap all the sardine stuff together to grill them. So
don't sardines. All right, yeah. Don't mention the sardines. Rui's Bar. He sounds like a proper character. Let's say hello to a few folks tonight. Love how all the expats have rescue dogs in the Algarve. Cat is in good company there. That is Cat the dog, who may make an appearance. Let's see if Cat's ready to speak to us now.
Here she comes. Hang on. Oh, hang on. Jeopardy. Choo! Here she comes.
Here she is. That is Cat the dog.
There's my cat.
Do you think she was delighted to hear and see, possibly almost smell virtually Gustav earlier on? Are they?
Yes, they've played together on the beach several times.
Looking a bit shy and coy there.
She is a bit, isn't she?
Yeah. So what's the story with Cat the dog?
It's a bit late at night for her. She's asleep normally now.
Oh, I see. Hold up, you've already gone to bed.
Yeah, she's my girl. Beautiful.
Tell us a bit more about Cat.
She's actually Spanish. She's a water dog, and a friend of ours who runs a charity out here rescuing dogs actually went on holiday to Spain and found this little scrap wandering in the middle of nowhere. And I've got the photos of when I found her. She was in a real state. So she kind of thought, well, I'm on holiday, but I guess I'm rescuing another one, and brought her back with her. We were the lucky people that got to adopt her, and she's just an absolute darling. They call her Macaquinha, the locals, because she's a little bit of a monkey. But
I see. Okay,
yeah, but, she's a little bit greyer than she was, bless her now. She's about 11. See, I told you, it's past her bedtime.
You want to let her go. Let her go. Fantastic. Okay, let's see who else is talking to us tonight. Zoom call for dogs. So I'm ready to take off anytime soon. I've tried enough. All right, we'll take you into that. And that comment from Susan there, yeah, it is great, and there are plenty of dogs. And I was looking at an article from, I think it was the Portugal News this morning, talking about how more Portuguese people are adopting dogs rather than buying dogs. I think that's all over the world, isn't it? I plonked and scoffed. It was delicious. Says it, who is from Relish, of course, that you mentioned earlier on, where you were featured. Good evening to you, Ivan. Great to hear from you. Yippee, big news. Congratulations, Alyson, to you. Guida Pereira, congratulations, Alyson. A friend in tonight. Thanks for publishing, I think, from Gabby there. And Mags. Oh, yes, prompted by your Yeri and Kyle story of the salt in Algarve. I've been and bought lots of salt in Rio Mayor, Salinas. Amazing place. 25 kilo, beautiful pure salt without additives for €7. That's a bargain, isn't it? And we'll come back to your question about the less touristy bits, Mag. Nicole says, hi, Alyson. Wish I could send you a bunt cake to celebrate. Why can't she? Ali? Why can't she do that?
Well, I wouldn't be able to eat it if she did, sadly. So,
your advice though, and your first reading there, I think will come as a lot of help to many people. And to know you can get the ingredients as well is really helpful, I think, for people tuning in from around the world tonight. Hi, all from Texas. Hi, Xander. Good evening to you. And how wonderful to celebrate with you, says Sharon Clemens Thomas there. Hello from Cheryl Smith tonight.
It's Sharon's birthday today. I happen to know that because I picked that up earlier. Sharon that just sent the message.
Sharon, not Cheryl. Okay. Do we sing Parabéns a você? Maybe not.
No, might sing she
won't embarrass ourselves. The Costa Diogo. Hi, hello to all and congrats, Alyson. Eric J over there in the States as well. Bonoy, Alyson and Carl in Denmark. It's truly international tonight. Caroline and Nujuguna is here too, following from Denmark. Safira up in Porto is here with us tonight. And Kay Clark Ulish. I'm here. looking forward to this tonight. And I think you're going to treat us to another reading now, aren't you?
I am, yes, I am.
That's wonderful. Okay.
I thought I'd actually start with the very first chapter for you, just to give you a kind of flavour of how the book begins.
Fantastic.
And you'll remember from the last book, we've just sold our house in Ferragudo.
Okay.
So it was Friday, the 13th of September, and we had just completed the sale of our old house and purchase of what was to become our new home. The car was packed full, Kat was perched on top of one of her favourite cushioned beds on the back seat, and we were on our way. The entire process at the notary office in Portimao had only taken an hour and a half. We were expecting it to take much longer than that, based on our previous experiences of Portuguese bureaucracy. It was late morning, and we were travelling down the A22 motorway to its very end, which we always called Junction Zero. We turned onto the road to Algarve, on the beautiful unsport west coast of the Algarve. Dave was driving and singing happily as we sped along. We kept smiling at each other and saying, we did it, we bought our new house. It was a lovely, warm, sunny day. The roads were quiet, and as we turned onto the M120 single carriageway road at the end of the motorway, we both sighed deeply and relaxed. The entire process of selling and then buying had been an exhausting one and had taken several months. This was during an extremely busy period for Dave. Everyone seemed to want their wedding or event photographed that summer, which left me as an artist to put my work on hold and arrange everything. We've always worked as a team, and this was no exception, but it had been a difficult and fraught time. As we drove along, I exclaimed to Dave, I am never, ever going through that again. You'll have to stay in this new house forever. I'm not selling and buying in Portugal again, ever. Suits me, he replied. I think we're going to love it here. The M120 is not a busy road, even in the summer. You drive past open fields, small woodland areas, past a series of wind turbines, and then out into more countryside. You pass by enticing signs that lead to the wonderful beaches of the southwest coastline of the Costa Vicentina. As we entered Algarve town, we were itching to get to our new house. We drove through the narrow main street with its shops and cafes, then took a sharp right turn over the old metal bridge which straddles the river. Then straight on, past the fields that are all neatly divided up and owned by the locals who grow their own crops. We drove to the roundabout with its view ahead of the church. Most people turn left here or go straight on, but we turn right, past the Junta de Freguesia and the Camera office buildings, and out onto the road that eventually leads to Monchique. A little way along this road, you turn into the area known as Igreja Nova. Our new home was nestled in a small hamlet of houses waiting for us to arrive. As we parked outside and looked up at the house, I couldn't wait to put the key in the door and look around. I was delighted that the previous owner's old wrecked car with its flat tyres was no longer parked to the side of the house. This would be our driveway. The garden was a mess, but we already knew that, and we had exciting plans for both inside and outside. But first it needed a good coat of paint everywhere before we could do anything else. The house was about 15 years old and was structurally sound. Sadly, the previous owner had neglected to maintain it, and it was the saddest looking house on the street. We opened up and scampered inside, looking around excitedly. Without the large and imposing dark furniture that had been inside when we had viewed it with the estate agent, it seemed much lighter and brighter and bigger inside. It was as I remembered it, and the floors, shiny with their polished tiles, echoed to our footsteps as we marched around. We checked each room and exclaimed with glee at little things we had forgotten or not noticed when we had seen it a few weeks before. We emptied the car of a few basics, then left everything inside the house, locked up, and walked Kat up the street. We were so happy to have finally made it, and as we walked around, several people said bon dia to us and introduced themselves. It seemed to be a pleasant, friendly, and quiet little neighbourhood, and we already knew that our immediate neighbours were Portuguese. It turned out that, with the exception of one German lady, all the neighbours in the whole hamlet were Portuguese or Brazilian. We drove back into town and parked beside the river in the market car park. It was lunchtime, people were milling around, and everywhere had a relaxed, unhurried air. No one rushes in Algarve. It has its own gentle pace, which is one of the reasons we were delighted to have found a suitable property to buy here. Having spent the previous 7.5 years living in Portugal, we were ready for a slightly gentler and quieter way of life. We were also looking forward to enjoying the local beaches, which are some of the finest anywhere along the Algarve. We walked over to the Café de Pont, which overlooks the river and nestles alongside the metal bridge that links the old and new towns together. Ducks and geese swim below, waiting for a friendly tourist with some food to throw, and the trees along the small park area beside the cafe are full of birds singing. Lots of interesting things here for Kat to sniff. We slowed down, we were not in a hurry, and let her nosy along at her own snuffling pace. Our little rescued Spanish water dog garners attention wherever we go. She is black, although a little greyer now as she's about 11 years old, and has a cute curly coat that makes her look like a little black sheep. People love to stop and fuss over her and say hello. We spotted a free table at the cafe and settled down with the menu as the owner came over to greet us. We had been there before, but this time we could proudly tell him we were now officially locals. He was delighted, and we started chatting, and then he said something we felt was the perfect phrase for us on our first day of our new life in Algarve. He pointed to the cloud-free blue sky above us and said, in English, "This place here is our little piece of sky." The word for both heaven and sky in Portuguese is the same word, céu. Although he interpreted it incorrectly into English, we were thrilled with that translation and thought it perfectly fitting for our new home. The skies do indeed seem a little larger and brighter here. You could stand in nature and see the dome of the sky stretching far above you. The thought of being able to own a piece of that, and it being representative of heaven too, seemed utterly appropriate. We stretched out, ordered a beaker coffee each, scratched Kat idly on the head, and settled in to enjoy the feeling of having finally moved to live in our own little paradise. Our idyll, however, was rudely interrupted when we glanced at Dave's watch and saw the time. How can it possibly be almost 4 p.m. already? We arrived here at 1:30. We gathered up our things, paid the bill, and scurried back to the car. We had cleaners to meet at the house at 4 p.m. There you go.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That's so lovely. And that was the Vinha Verde I nearly bought, which had Seu in its. I don't know if you know that brand of Vinha Verde, or Alvarino, I think it is. That's so lovely. I get a sense of the pace slowing down for you there. Beautifully put in that reading there, Ali.
Thank you.
Incredible. So Holly's here as well. Hi, Alyson, she says. Jose Manuel da Costa Diogo. Hi, good night to all and all the best. And Holly is from Richmond, Virginia, who also says the first book was fantastic. Can't wait to read part 2. You've put Portugal on my bucket list, and there's where to buy it there, Holly. And from Brazil tonight. Hello, Carl and Alison. Boa noite from Brazil. So it sounds amazing where you are now and the transition you've made. I understand we're not going to get Dave to join us on the screen tonight, but we can look at his photos, right?
Yes, you can look at his photos. I might be able to drag him in to say hello in a minute. You might get lucky. I'll see if I can drag him in.
That would be awesome if Dave does want to join us. I understand if he does. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but we've got a fabulous slideshow that we can share with everybody. What I'll do is I'll effectively turn the lights down by getting rid of the image in the background just to make it a little clearer for you. There you go. That makes it a bit easier to look at. And perhaps we can talk through a few of these in the last few minutes of our celebration tonight of your second book, Ali. There was a question from Mag, wasn't there? It's possible to find less touristy bits of the Algarve, right?
Yes. I think here you go, I found him. If you go east.
Hold on, let me just get a full screen here. Hold on a minute. Hi there, Dave. How are you?
Evening, Carl. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well. I've had some fun here listening to the story of your first date and frozen chicken for dinner.
I'm not saying anything, mate.
And I heard quite a lot about your Powerballs as well.
Indeed, yes.
Sorry, Alan, you were saying, less touristy bits of the Algarve. It's possible, right?
Yeah, I think if you look at the map and cut out the middle section, to be honest, if you go east or west of the centre, you're gonna it's more quiet. You've got the Barlavento, which is the west, so Lagos and Western up the west coast where we are, or over past where Yeri and Kyle are, and out even further east past Tavira, and out that way, you're going to find some peace and quiet as well. So, or go up in the hills, just go slightly north. You don't have to travel far to get a more rural, quieter way of life. It's
get beyond the stereotypes that people have come to expect. So there you go, Mags. Absolutely possible. Jenny from Belgium tonight. Bonoit. Parabéns with your book, Alyson. A question. Dave still taking photographs after 45 years of photography. If we move to Portugal in the future, I think I will give the cameras a rest. Absolutely, Dave is taking photographs, and we're going to see.
I was on the beach this evening, mate, taking photographs of a fantastic sunset tonight. So
I can't wait to see your photographs on Facebook. I mean, even on a phone, they look magnificent. I can't imagine what they're like in full reproduction.
Thank you. Thank
So I really love seeing them. Here's some old photos of you, or some earlier photographs, I should say. And we will get to see some of your photography now. So there's Algarve from a distance, which is now your home with the quieter pace of life, and some more long shots there. And we'll get to some of these photographs. But this, of course, is the moving day you were describing as well, yeah?
Yes, it's all in the book. It'll all make sense in the book, trust me. It's
first night on an inflatable mattress.
No, we spent about nearly 3 months on those inflatable mattresses. Yeah, took a while for the bed to arrive.
You dread hissing in the middle of the night, Carl.
I still do. Don't we all?
No, hissing.
Oh right. As you were. This is all the work you've done on the new home, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yes, she gets the best spot in the house, definitely.
And what we're getting tonight is your art.
No, well, it's there. Yes, it's I've used a brilliant company to actually format the book for me, and the header of each chapter we used the same sort of one of my paintings. So it was
beautiful. What a creative household you are! Fantastic. These are all your work, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Fantastic. Sorry we're going through so quickly, but just to give you a sense of what Ali and Dave get up to down there in the south of Portugal. Look at that. That's one of yours, Dave, right?
Yeah, yes. That's my morning walk. That's the view me back.
Oh, really?
It's beautiful, isn't it? Stand by the river. It's really lovely. But all of the whole photo album's on my website. So if you can rush through now, people want to go back and have another look.
I can't rush through. I'm looking at this magic tree here.
It's but yeah, that's my local walk every morning, and those are the kind of flowers we see on the walk. And you read the book, some of the stories about the chickens. That's
fabulous. Some of your local produce as well.
Yeah, local market. Yeah.
There's the cat page. Oh, and some of the ups and downs she's had as well. Bless her.
Yeah, dear.
Incredible. There she is. Fantastic. There we go. A Dave Sheldrake original there. Isn't that beautiful? How far is that from where you live?
About 5 minutes drive, that's all.
Oh, wow.
Not far. That's our local beach in front of that one.
Yeah.
So these are all your locals, basically, yeah?
They're all probably within about an hour's drive at the very most. So
that is the otherworldly, isn't it? Azenia.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I always say to Alyson, if you ever want to teach your children about geology, then the west coast of Portugal is a place to come, because I remember my own geography lessons from when I was at school, and being quite interested in that as a subject, and then coming here and seeing the rock formations and how the Earth's crust was formed, really. You can see it from the cliffs here. It's amazing.
It's beautiful.
Oh, it's all there. Well, Ali, thank you so much. It's been lovely to talk to you, to talk to your guests tonight, and to have Dave on the screen as well. Fantastic. And we've had Gustav and Kat appear as well. So thank you so much. Congratulations. What's next?
Thank you. Well, I've started the next book already, so just to warn you, it's a compilation. I know lots of people out here, people like you, Yeri and Kyle and Dave, and we're going to put together a compilation of their expat stories. So each chapter will be a different person who's maybe moved to the Algarve, set up a charity, living a different way of life. There's some really, and I've got some people in the book. One of them, she moved out to the Algarve in the early 1960s. Her mom was one of the first to set up a hotel out here. Her mom's still alive. She's 102 now and still living here. So I think it will give some of the history of what the Algarve used to be like pre-tourism. I've got a couple that run a yurt business. We've got a guy that runs an amazing vineyard out here in the Algarve. So we've got a whole range of different stories. We've got Debbie, who set up the Bombeiros Alerta charity. And we've got David Thomas that did the Safe Communities Portugal programme. So
of course, yeah.
I'm hoping to tell their story, because I think we've kind of done our story. You've heard lots about me and Dave and all the things we've got up to. So I thought it was about time to open it up for others. And then I'm hopefully planning, that will be an Algarve-based one. And then I've got one more book in mind, which will be a kind of Portugal-wide. And I'm kind of hoping, Carl, you might get a chapter there if you'd like to, and we can find out a bit more about your story.
I'd love to do that. I would love to do that. As I suspect, my Nunu, who says, "Boa noite a todos. Good night, everyone from Serra da Estrela." You've got to go up to the mountains, haven't you? The highest of Portugal.
Dave needs to take his camera there, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Congrats, Alyson from Eric.
I'm saving up for a camper van, Carl.
Oh yes. Well, yeah. You need a lot for the outlay, but then a load for the maintenance as well. Generally speaking, on a camper, don't you? As I discovered.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I scrapped mine here in Portugal, but that's another story. And beautiful photos. Thank you for sharing from Florida, USA. Congrats, Alyson. Much success on your book from Eric. Congrats, Alyson. Nice to see Dave too from Kay. Good night from Denver, Colorado. Congratulations from South Carolina from Sharon. Happy birthday, Sharon. And this has been great. Thanks. Final word from Xander. A to Z there. So thank you. Oh, no, not a final word. Jenny, maybe the photography passion will return for me after a while when nothing is really necessary anymore. Plenty of inspiration from Dave there. Ali, Dave, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Just very briefly, to the person that's interested in photography there, unfortunately, it's not running at the moment because of COVID. But I do run. We collect money for charity, but a photography walks group here in the Western Algarve. We meet once a month, go on walks together, and myself and another photographer, Chloe, here on the Algarve, helps me, and we give photography tuition, all for a local charity.
Well, there you go. That's an offer Jenny can't refuse. There you go. Bring your kit with you, Jenny. Don't leave that behind, because she was figuring out.
Definitely not. You'd be sad to leave it behind.
Bring it with. Okay. Holly says, congratulations, Alyson. Hello to Dave. Great show, Carl. Thank you very much. And Susan, congrats from Arizona. So lots of well-wishing and congratulations to you from all over the world, Ali. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carl. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Boa noite. Até logo.
Cheers.